Hello viewers, welcome to the presentation on the long-term objectives of the organization. Long-term objectives are part of the strategic planning process wherein we have already discussed about the mission and vision statement of the organization. Basically, these long-term objectives helps to give shape to the mission statements. Let us just see the mission statement of ITC. It says to enhance the wealth generating capability of the enterprise in a globalizing environment, delivering superior and sustainable stakeholder value. So basically this looks to be a very qualitative statement. Probably long-term objective will really help to give a dimension and shape to the whole thing. For example, the long-term objectives are achievable normally over 5 to 10 years of period, and normally a year-wise breakup is also provided. For example, ITC is planning to actually have more thrust on the non-cigarette business. So they're planning to have 50% of sales coming from non-cigar business in the medium-term horizon. So at every year, what is the percentage of non-cigarette business they're going to have, they'll be having. And this provides the basis for annual objectives and so the annual budgeting process. So it drives the complete strategic management process in that way. So what are the qualities of these long-term objectives? First is it should be flexible. Now, for example, you take all these companies which already have the plans for the physical outlet expansion. Now, during the Corona period and this digital economy and also digitalization and e-commerce and all that, they've really taken a quantum increase in terms of customers' acceptance, and also the companies also they're also able to perfect their delivery model, everything. And so companies are basically now reviewing their physical outlet expansion plan after the Corona. So to that extent, long-term objective should be flexible. It should be measurable. Things like it should be a profit or a market share or percentage share of business, whatever it is. As I mentioned earlier, ITC is planning to have 50% of sales coming from the non-cigarette business. Similarly, Reliance, you would have seen Reliance Industries, now lots of activities is going on. Reliance is now trying to be a technology company from a traditional oil and gas business. So they're planning to have nearly 50% of revenue coming from the non-oil and gas business in their medium plan. Motivating. In fact, this long-term objective should be really motivating to the employees. If you see many of these technology companies like 3M or your many Google and many of these organizations, they would like to have 30% of revenue coming from products less than 1 year old. That means there is many products are in the pipeline at different stages of commercialization of technology development and all that. But at any point of time, 30% of revenue should come from products which are all less than 1 year old. Another very important aspect of the long-term objective, it should be suitable to the organization, particularly to the culture of the organization. For example, let us say a commodity player who has got its strengths and capabilities in a particular area, he may not be really be suitable for an innovative businesses. In case commodity player is trying to have a long-term objectives to have innovative businesses, it may not be really suitable to the organization. Understandable. It should be understandable to all the employees in the organization, very important. In fact, Amul is planning and trying to become the largest dairy company in the world. Now presently it's the 9th in the rank and they want to be the number 1. Obviously, India being the largest milk producer in the world, Amul can definitely will be able to achieve the long-term objective, and everyone will be really working on that particular one. And what are the areas one can really have a long-term objective? The first is a profitability. It's a very standard one. Many companies at the time of launching their new product or new company or new SBU, they may have a very small margin, maybe let us say about 5% or something like that. And they would like to have this margin increased over the next 5 years or 10 years depending upon the type of business they're all there. It should be productivity also. This productivity long-term objective is more applicable for capital intensive industries, because in industries you would already put in large amount of money and you want to get the best out of the investment. At some stages, once everything gets stabilized, they'll start working on the productivity so that additional output may come with very incremental capital investment. So that is why the productivity is taken as a long-term objective. It is also applicable to the maturity phase to handle the cost. Because normally in the maturity phase, what will happen, things will be again be reasonably stable, and you want to control your cost as much as possible. From that angle, again you try to work on productivity and try to reduce your cost. Competitive position, it's one of the very important one. For example, now Reliance Retail is trying to have a long-term objectives to be among the top 20 retailers in the world in the next 5 years. So what is written in the wall is very, very clear as far as Reliance Group is concerned. So they want to be a very big retail player in the world. Similarly, Adani Group is trying to become the world's largest solar power company by 2025 and largest renewable power company by 2030. That's why you would have seen Adani is putting up large solar power plants all over the world of large capacities. So basically because of this particular long-term objective. The second very interesting next area is that employee development. It's a very interesting one, but very challenging, and very few companies have successfully done that one. We will take an example of this Tata Group. Rishi Modi was actually the person who has created the Tata Steel empire. Similarly, if you see Mulgaonkar, who has really created the Tata Motors, the entire base, and FC Kohli is a person who has really created TCS from the scratch when the software was not owned all over the world. And even many countries may not be knowing that India can be a big player in software and all that, but Kohli has set up offices all over the world before the software boom really started. Similarly, Ajit Kalkar set up the entire chain of Taj group of hotels in this country. And similarly, your Tobacco Wala is the person who has created the Voltas, basically the marketing arm of Tatas. And then finally, your Darbari Setu created the Tata Sea. What is a very interesting point here is that all the 6 people mentioned here, starting from Rishi Modi, Mulgaonkar, Kohli, Kelkar, Tobacco Wala and Darbari Seth, they were all the employees of Tata Group when J.R.D. Tata was the chairman of the company. So J.R.D. Tata identified these employees and empowered them and allowed them to create their empire in their own field, giving them 100% freedom. And that's what we are seeing today. All large conglomerates of Tata Groups created by this individual. It's a very classical case of having employee development as a long-term objective. HCL Technologies to some extent is also trying to follow this objective. They are also very much in the way. Then we have the fifth area is the employee relationship. Sundaram Fasteners Limited, at one point of time they wanted to have zero IR problem in the next 5 years because they wanted to overcome all these IR related issues which are very much affecting their quality, output and all that. Similarly, another very interesting example one can think of is the Tamil Nadu Petro Products Limited, wherein the management decided to go for a union free workforce. Basically, in fact, they started discussing with the various work groups. At one point of time, voluntarily the workforce decided to take away all the unions away, and finally they were able to bring a union-free workforce. All these concepts requires tremendous understanding, trust between the workers and the management. Then only it's possible. It is not very easy to follow, but there are many success stories are also there. The next is the technological leadership. We are seeing Hyperloop transport Tesla is working on, and maybe in another 10 to 15 years time we can see the reality, a commercial success and all that. Similarly, nanobots, future surgeons are inside the body by 2030. In fact, many companies are actually working on this nanobot that will change the way the entire medical surgery and various other things will be done. So it is again a very interesting, and not many companies can have this technological leadership as a long-term objective, but still there are some companies following. And finally, you have the public responsibility. In fact, today as part of CSR initiatives, many organizations are working on this public responsibility as one of the long-term objective, like adopting some 1,000 villages in the next 5 years, to set up 500 schools in rural areas in the next 5 years, and so many things are all there. So we have seen this video, what exactly is the long-term objective, how it is related to the strategic management process, what are the areas where one can have the long-term objectives, what are the characteristics of the long-term objective. Hope you all enjoyed this presentation. Thanks for your patient listening. Thank you once again.